It's time again for some Citroën action. You guys haven't seen any videos on this car in a while, and I'm definitely going to deliver today. Let's get started. So for those of you that have missed out and haven't seen any of the videos on this car, this is a 1969 Citroën DS. I know it's said like Citroën, but I say Citroën. That's just easier for me. What we're going to do today, I actually have a special guest you guys have also not seen in a while. It's the Bug Ninja.
What's up?
You guys haven't seen him in a while, and he's back.
Yeah.
Adrian. That's what his name is. But
exactly. Good to see you all. What's up, Mr. Wizard?
Well, I know that you like obscure, strange cars.
Yeah.
You're definitely like VWs and things of that nature, but this is, I think this is the strangest of the strange. It's like really odd in the whole car world.
Yeah,
it's one of the oddest.
It's definitely something that that is an acquired taste.
Acquired taste.
Yes. I've always thought of Citroëns as the intersection between art and engineering.
Right.
And it's always you've always, well, at least for me anyway, it always seems that the quirkiest cars are those designed by aeronautic engineers, kind of like Saab, right? But then when you start to peel apart the layers, you find out that these cars make a whole bunch of sense.
Right.
And have a lot of innovation in them. Is that what you found since you've had this car?
Yeah, it's actually, it seems like it would be super complex, but actually when you start looking into it and actually looking at all the way that they ran everything, it's actually not that bad. It's actually designed very well.
Okay.
You know, if the 1980s Rolls-Royce and Bentleys, they had that nasty suspension that had fluid and it used would leak all over the place.
Absolutely.
This is where they got that from. They bought the technology from Citroën.
Okay, and how do you like it in this car?
I haven't driven it on the highway yet because I just got it not too long ago, and we're going to show you some boxes and boxes of parts that I bought for it. Mm-hmm. But from what I understand, and actually Jay Leno has mentioned when he did a video of his, it is the most comfortable car ever made in all existence.
Yeah, I heard they were really smooth to drive on the road. Yeah.
Like you can go over deviations or the wind can blow and it will compensate and make the body straight at all times.
Yeah, I'd heard that as well. I think that somebody told me that they were self-leveling.
Self-leveling, yeah, at all times.
That's crazy.
So, I'll just show you some of the weird quirks. Then we're going to take a look at some of the parts I bought. It's a lot of parts. So before we get too far along, I'm going to go ahead and open the hood. Okay. And here is the prop. Goes into there. So this is a little 4-cylinder, and what's really weird about it is it sits backwards from what you would normally think a car. The transmission's actually up here.
Oh, get out of here. You serious?
Yeah, you can see down there, there's the brake rotors. It's oriented like a 911, but in the front. The engine's back there, not up here.
So they're driving all of your accessories off of the back half of the crank then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alternator and everything is driven off the back side here. This is like, it pulls air, not from a front grille, but from underneath the car. Up through the radiator. Here's a little shroud.
That's amazing. I always wondered how they got away with not having a functional or traditional grille in the front of the car.
These don't have coil springs or leaf springs. They don't have any springs.
It's hydraulic, right?
They got balls, man. Right here, these green balls. They're nitrogen-filled spheres. They're like 3,000 psi. There's actually 2 in the back as well. That little green thing there is actually the pump for the system. And it's got this green fluid. Looks like a little trash can, don't it?
Yeah, it does. Wow.
Suspension fluid.
You know, this is pretty remarkable. I mean, I know a lot about a lot of different cars, but I don't even know where to start with this vehicle because it's so counter to what we're used to, and you know the technology in here was so forward thinking, even for, what did you say, this is a 1969?
It's 69. There was nothing American doing any of this.
No.
And that was a problem back then. Even when people bought these new, they take it to, you know, a standard shop, and they would look at it and be like, nah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not touching that. It's got one really cool feature here.
Okay. What in the heck is that?
Oh. What does it look like to you?
That's a crank. Yeah. But what is it to?
It's like the old days.
Oh, get out. And so that goes onto the back of the transmission, I'm assuming?
Yeah, there's a shaft through the transmission.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I'll go turn the key on. We'll see if we can start it. When we start it, it should raise itself up. Try to kick it, see if it'll start.
Okay. You gotta be kidding me.
No, here it goes. It's raising up. This is like 1920s stuff right here.
So what was that clicking sound?
It's actually, the spheres are actually bad, and so instead of building up pressure, it's deadheading against the regulator, and it's just bypassing. So that tells you right there, when you hear that on these cars, that the spheres are all bad.
This car is so different. I feel like I'm learning about cars for the first time.
Yeah.
There's just so much, you know. I mean, I've never even seen up close a car, you know, actually being crank started, let alone trying it myself. Because you'll remember the stories around the first crank start cars. If the compression kicked, you might, you know, break an arm or you know, something like that with it. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of apprehensive about even trying it.
Right.
You know?
And it starts really easy. That tells me that the ignition system, everything's in order. It runs really well. I don't have any engine issues. I have suspension issues. I actually got it from Tyler.
Okay.
And after he's seen all the leaks and suspension problems, he's just kind of like,
nope,
I'm good. But yeah, you're right. It is like you think the old days, you had to sit there and turn it over and over. This is just one kick.
Yeah, seriously, I was apprehensive about, you know, even trying it, you know, for fear of what might happen if it pushed back due to compression. It's amazing.
I'll go ahead and get this closed, and I'll have you actually sit in the interior. It's like you're in a different time frame. It's really weird. Even the interior is weird. So what do you think about the single spoke steering wheel?
I was going to ask you, what the heck is this? What am I supposed to do here?
It's really strange. And then the ignition switch is in the center, underneath the column there. And then there's a blue button on the side of the column. That's actually how you start it.
So it's push to start, huh?
Yeah.
Even all those years ago?
Mm-hmm. Push button start in '69.
I wonder what the idea was behind putting the ignition tumbler in the center of the column.
I don't know, and the radio's way over there.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
This is, you know, like I was saying earlier, this is completely counter to what we've accepted, you know, as far as how cars are laid out. I mean, I can sort of understand from this side, perhaps having the passenger control the stereo while you stay focused on the road.
Mm-hmm. Here's the horn. It's actually a lever.
I'll get out of here.
And the wipers.
Yeah.
It's a 3-speed on the column. It's actually a manual transmission, but it's on the. It has the clutch is all the way to the left.
Okay. Because I had heard that some of these were actually semi-automatic, and you could still shift it, but only had 2 pedals.
Right. This one's just full automatic. It's actually a lesser model because of that. It doesn't have the semi-auto, and then. I actually don't know what that is.
But what do you feel about these seats, man? This is like grandma's sofa, bro. This is very comfortable.
And if you don't want the center armrest, it just pulls straight up. The whole thing just comes out.
It's simple, but it's effective, right?
Yeah. It's got push button, your blower.
Wow.
Hazards.
How much of this stuff did or didn't work when you first got the car?
Actually, everything in here works.
Okay.
It works fine. I haven't taken it out to see if the speedometer and everything, all that works, but as far as I know, it all works.
And I mean, you can get a number of tall people inside of this car. It's got tons of headroom, and one of the things that I've noticed about Citroën is that they've really committed to this shape. over the years. Even the new, what is that thing, C4X, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It still kind of has a shape reminiscent, you know, of this, and they've really stood behind that as a brand image. You know, what we thought was quirky or strange, they've made it work for them over the years.
Yeah. So go ahead and hit the clutch in. Turn the key's already on. Hit the little blue switch. And if you want to raise that lever all the way to this highest position, it raises the car up at will.
Oh, get out! Wow.
And you can put that switch all the way down. It'll go back down again. Hold it all the way to the floor. Boom. You can.
Okay. This is how I like my cars to sit, right here.
You like it like that? And then there's a white line. You can see that's normal ride.
Okay. So it looks like it's popped back up into that position.
Yeah.
We'll pull it just to right here. Kind of get it off of the lift. That's crazy. Can you turn it off?
Yeah, you can go ahead and turn it off. Turn the key off.
Wow.
Just hydraulics at will.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Again, this is like learning about cars all over again.
I got one more thing to show you back here.
Okay.
So you were right, this thing you can change the spare tire, actually take a flat tire off and drive home on 3 wheels. I demonstrated in one of the previous videos if you guys want to check it out. But regardless, you can be on the side of the road and this car will jack itself up in the air where you can get the wheel off. And then you just take this single bolt out and this entire panel comes off.
And that panel's fairly lightweight as well.
Yep.
Because I'd heard that these cars are constructed, as far as the body panels, constructed with fiberglass and or aluminum.
This one's metal.
Yeah.
But you can see in there, there's just the green ball. There's no springs, no coil springs, no. It has 4 balls.
There's just there's nothing, you know, prohibiting you from just being able to just replace this right there on the side of the road, no problem.
Right. I'll go ahead and put this back on and we'll look underneath and you'll see as complex as it sounds, it's actually quite simple.
Okay.
You ready for some more strange weirdness?
I can already see some right now. Tell me that those aren't inboard brake rotors.
They are inboard brake rotors, just like an old Jaguar.
Oh my goodness.
They're actually leaking. I have some new ones in the box, or remanufactured ones. But you can see the transmission is up here, not back there.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And it comes out of the side for the output shafts, just like a Porsche. It's got some strange CV shafts. Over in here you see just 2 control arms and a steering tie rod. That's it.
Okay.
No springs anywhere, nothing.
I think this is the point in which you should cue the X-Files music, right? Because I don't realize anything underneath here.
It's alien.
It's completely alien under here.
Yeah. You look for the brakes here, and they're none. They're up here. And there's the engine up here. You can see some of the. This is a cylinder. Actually raises this arm up and down.
Okay, part of your hydraulic system.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these steel lines all over.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's really not difficult. It's not hard. It's all just nuts and bolts.
How do you feel about ditching all of the traditional McPherson strut coil over spring type suspension for what some might consider to be a more complex matrix of, you know, hoses and hard lines and hydraulics and, well, mineral oil?
Well, definitely with a coil spring setup or leaf springs, it's basically set it and forget it. You don't ever think about it. You don't worry about it. I mean, springs can break.
Right.
You'll be on the side of the road, leaned over. These systems can be equally reliable as long as they're maintained. But if a line bursts or one of the cylinders gives out or something and that side of the car collapses, you're done. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's definitely more complex, and it can have way more failure points. It's not like set it and forget it like a coil spring. But when these are operating like they should, nothing can compare to them. The ride quality and the stability of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll show you here the actually the timing cover where you would normally see a main pulley and accessories and alternator and everything.
Right.
All it is just a steel cover.
That's it. Really simple. And all the complexity is on the back half.
On the back half.
Of the engine itself.
And it comes into this muffler that's sideways and then goes to these two tiny little pipes all the way back.
Little pea shooter pipes.
I don't know why they did that. But all your drivetrain is like up here. There's nothing back there. There's not even an axle.
Well, also with the floor being as low and as flat as it is, that's also going to help with creating leg room, subsequently headroom. You know, with the shape of the roof. So it's all for. It seems like anyway to me, it's all for comfort of the occupants at this point.
And then we move back to here. You can see this is a cylinder here that actually pushes on this arm.
Okay.
You can raise and lower this, and this is what the balls here. So when you hit a bump, there's an actual diaphragm inside the ball, and it pushes against nitrogen. The fluid does.
Right. So
that's your actual suspension.
I mean, it makes sense when you explain it that way, but I've just never seen anything like this before, ever.
Yeah.
You know, the Citroën DS has always just kind of been the vehicular oddity that you see, you know, riding around the street, and they seem really small from a distance until you actually get up to appreciate how much space and how large this car actually is. But, you know, like I've said several times in this interaction, I just feel like I'm learning about cars all over again because this is totally different than anything else I've ever seen.
Totally backwards to what you would normally think. Well, I've got a ton of parts I'll show you here, and we'll kind of go through them and kind of give you an idea of what we're going to be replacing, and then, you know, just happy to show you the car. I definitely wanted to get your take on it because a lot of people come in here and they're instantly alienated, or but you're more open-minded. You definitely like the obscure cars, and I knew you'd appreciate it.
Well, I love automobiles,
yeah.
Right? So will I take and drive a Citroën DS? No.
No.
But can I appreciate what they were thinking and how forward-thinking this car is? You know, some of the technology that we're seeing, here is just now starting to come out, you know, again in the modern era.
Right. It's definitely with air suspension or even hydraulic suspension, where you have variable ride heights and more comfortable ride. It's like that's just something that was in the 90s, 2000s, but this was in the 50s and 60s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, well, I'll get this thing on the ground. So these few boxes right here, and I do have another box coming, but basically that's $4,000.
Where is the rest of it?
That's it.
This is it?
Now, these parts aren't cheap. A lot of them are hard to come by. I have a guy named Rob Murdoch that's helping me. He's rebuilt 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of these. He knows them like the back of his hand. So he just watched my video and he was like, you need this, you need that, you need this, this, that. And he got a list together and he's like, it's $4,000 and you'll have a sorted out, completely sorted Citroën. So I paid him the money and boxes are starting to show up.
Let me guess, older guy, serious passion about this car.
It's late 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe a little older. But it was missing this. I didn't even know, but this is it goes up in front underneath the transmission. And the rotors fit here.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just a protective plate for it.
Like, where are you going to find that? He happened to have one.
Wow.
So I'll set this over here.
It actually kind of causes a little bit of concern for me. You know, what happens when all these parts kind of disintegrate, you know, away?
Well, the nice thing is there weren't so many in America, but worldwide they built like 2 million of these.
Okay.
So overseas there's a plethora of parts.
Okay.
You just have to go there to get them.
Perhaps even people who've decided to remanufacture or, you know, re-engineer those parts to keep them on the market.
Well, let's play Ryan's World here and unbox some of our goodies.
Let's do it.
So these are the calipers.
Okay. Are you in there? Is that one?
That's just the one side.
Oh my goodness.
If I can get it out of there. There's one.
And that's one caliper.
That's just one, yeah.
That's massive.
Yep.
Wow.
Set that aside. The other two were leaking out of the pistons, and the cost to rebuild it and do everything, it's just easier. I'm going to send him my old ones as cores, but he sent me these that are ready to go. Here's another caliper. I'll set it aside. He's been sending me instructions how to do everything. All the torque values, everything. These are just some brackets. That's pretty much it in this box. We'll grab another one.
The first thing that came to mind was, you know, what happens when all of that knowledge about this car, you know, can, you know, as we move 10, 20 more years into the future, you know, what happens to that knowledge base. But with 2 million of them built, like you were saying, then, you know, the good thing is that you should still be able to keep these cars on the road for some years to come.
That's kind of one of the reasons why this guy, Rob Murdoch, contacted me and wanted to just show me, kind of get in depth, how do you restore one of these, or how do you keep it on the road? Because he sees the same thing when the guys like him are gone. Who's going to keep these things running?
Right.
So,
like, you know, who's going to rebuild CIS, which is your favorite, right?
No. He actually noticed in the video that my hood insulation was missing underneath, and so he sent me that.
Wow. Another box?
Yep.
This one's heavy.
It's got a lot of little stuff in it.
CV boots.
Some boots. I'll move the paperwork out of the way. Here's some more boots. I think those are suspension boots.
Okay.
Look at there. That's some manly balls right there.
Gotta have those.
Yep, there's 4 of those in here. These are CV boots. They're actually smooth on these.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what to call anything because this car is so, I mean, completely
Spark plug
formed.
tube insulators.
Okay.
These are driver's side engine between fuel pump. Looks like a bracket or something. I don't know what that is. Some of this stuff I'm just going to have to go through and kind of call him. I think I'm going to have to call him and go through some. I think this is for the shifter. The little.
Oh, okay.
Like a boot.
Kind of like a dust cover there.
Yeah, dust cover. Some Loctite and some bolts. More balls.
That's right.
These are some Ligarex pliers for those bands for like the CV boots and things. Another boot. These are the rear, I think these are the rear boots for the rear cylinders we saw where they were leaking, dripping.
Okay.
It's like an oil filter, which he tells me if you don't know how to change the oil filter on this car, you can literally scrap the engine. There's a certain arrows and things that need to line up, and it has to go back in just in order, or it can starve the motor. Yeah, crazy. More balls. You need a ball, Mrs. Wizard?
I think you're happy about this.
No, I don't come with that.
So the word
Cylinders.
over-engineered starts to come to mind.
Yeah.
Doesn't it for you?
It does. These are some cylinders for the suspension. More
Look at
balls.
that. Oh, yeah. More balls.
We can always use more balls. And these are more cylinders.
Like Christmas here.
Aluminum suspension cylinder. Here's some brake pads. Anyways, they're brake pads.
Yeah.
Not much to see, really. More cylinders. So basically, this is a complete suspension rebuild in a box.
To make the smooth car ride even smoother, right?
Right. This is oil filter seals. That's pretty much it for that box.
This looks like CV grease, as
Yep.
it says there on the bottle. I don't know.
Radiator mounts.
Okay. Clamps.
Some clamps.
Another CV boot. And does it say transmission cross member?
Gearbox rubber mounts under trans cross member.
Yeah. And this is $4,000 worth of assorted bits of metal and rubber.
Yep. There's a few more coming yet, but it's not going to be a whole lot more. So $4,000. Imagine if you had to pay that for all these parts and pay for the labor to get your car fixed.
Well, I'm just thinking that $4,000 equates to like an engine in some other makes.
Yeah.
Here it's assorted pieces of rubber and cloth and metal.
Mm-hmm. So I've got my work cut out for me. I'm actually going to have Danielson do the work. We're just going to take it piece by piece. So it's not a rush to the finish line or anything. We'll focus on one wheel at a time, rebuild all the components that's going on there, go to the next wheel, take care of some of the stuff under the car, and just eventually we'll run out of parts and have it all sorted.
But you know, what comes to mind right now for me is that a lot of this is literally things that you can't do with cars built after 2015.
Right.
You know, this is the stuff that makes people love cars.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand why somebody, like the gentleman that you're talking about that provided you with these parts, why he's devoted so much time and attention over the years to this.
It's a passion for those cars specifically, yeah.
Exactly.
So now you've experienced all the weirdness of a Citroën DS. You could say that you actually sat in one, you started it up, messed around, you actually kick-started one. You could tell people that. That's crazy, huh?
And it is truly weird, yes.
It is weird. So I guess if your battery was low, not enough to turn the motor over, but it could still run, you could kick-start it.
Wow.
And get down the road, at least get home.
This is an engineer's dream.
It is.
All of the different systems that are at play on this car.
It definitely is cool. Thinking about these old cars and fixing old cars, I actually read an article where it's almost like the stock market. There's actually investments, stock items where they're investing in old Ferraris and Lamborghinis and things like that. They're actually on the stock market.
Okay. Wow.
They're just having trouble finding people to work on them.
That's where you come in, right?
No. No, I don't want to work on them. I enjoy the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem like I hate those cars or I don't want to work on them. It's that most people don't put the money where the mouth is.
Okay.
So they get in their head 10 grand and I'm golden, this thing is sorted. And 40 grand later, it's still not sorted.
Right.
And they're like, what went wrong here? Well, nothing went wrong. The truth of the matter is if you send this car to the West Coast for a frame-off restoration, it's going to be 90 grand.
Oh, my goodness. So that you just didn't put enough money into it.
Yeah, but they don't want to put that much money into it. And then they get mad at the mechanic. So you're trying to take all this money from me. No, that's what it costs to get this car right.
Right.
That's why I don't like to work on the older cars. I don't want to go, it's like every single one that comes in I know is going to be an uphill battle, a fight to get the car done. And that's not fun.
No.
It's not fun for the customer, it's not fun for the shop. And in the end, I really don't make that much money. So
in the end, the person who buys this car needs to understand exactly what they're getting into.
Right.
And understand their limitations up front.
And there's a lot of people that do, like Jay Leno, if he bought a clapped out Ferrari, he would know this is going to be like 100 grand to get this rolling. And he's cool with that.
Yeah.
He understands that's what it takes. So, but a lot of people don't, unfortunately.
No,
They're praying for a miracle.
That reminds me of people trying to avoid the $13,000 Maserati catalytic converter, right?
Right. I've actually had one in the shop. They were both bad.
Mm-hmm.
$7,500 per side. They're like, nope, park it outside.
Right. Bring the crusher.
Yeah. You know, the thing is that car, when it was new, it was 120 grand. You wouldn't think twice about spending that money on that car. But if you only paid 10 for the car, it's not worth it anymore.
Right.
The prices of the repairs and the parts are still equates to a $120,000 car.
And in some instances outpace book values and things like
Right.
that for the vehicle.
It's easy to mechanically total them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyways, did you enjoy?
Yeah, I did. It's just such a quirky car that, there's just a lot that I'll still have to try to wrap my mind around what the engineers who designed the vehicle were thinking. But, I think that my original assessment is true, which is this car is kind of a combination of art because, it's, maybe it's an acquired taste for some, but, for some of us who really appreciate automobiles, it's a beautiful car to look at,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when you start to peel back the layers, right, and see what the engineers were thinking, when they put this car together, it's really remarkable.
Yep. You definitely know how to put it into words really well. In fact, my commenters have mentioned they want you to have a YouTube channel.
I will.
You will.
I will.
They want to see some well, whatever you would call your channel. They want to see some action there. So
it's going to happen.
Good. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to go through all this $4,000 worth of parts and put this thing back on the road, or really any car in the shop, check my Amazon affiliate link in the description below. We get a small cut and we appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because there's many more cool videos, many more things going on in the shop. And thanks again, Adrian, for coming by and giving us your take on this really strange car.
Thank you for having me. This has been a treat.
All right. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.